Hi, we're here at Brands Hatch Circuit for the ThundersportGB 2016 season. Today we're at round 1 and we've got the Golden Era Superbike and Supersport. Welcome to Thundersport Plus.
Race 1 of 2016 for the Dymag Golden Era Superbikes. Dymag wheels, of course, have been around for some time. Beautiful wheels. I used to have a set myself back in the day. Now, there's a familiar face on the Golden Era Superbike grid. Nick Williamson, number 6. Good to see him out there. The reigning champion is there as well, ever present with his number 1 plate on his backseat Yamaha, John Dieterman, very much the man to catch for this year. Richard Blunt also out there, chasing him down just like last year. Someone got a terrible start there. Bogged it on the start line, but luckily didn't get collected by anyone. All eyes should be, in theory, on Dieterman and Blunt again to take this one all the way down to the wire, but you just never know. Over the winter, 1 or 2 names will hope that they've managed to find something so that we'll have a different situation and a different outcome. Certainly the likes of Ryan Strafford and Nick Williamson will be looking to put that right. Not sure whether we're going to see anything of Andrew Windsor, who I think at the end of last season certainly stood out as being one of the biggest improvers in the class. Certainly he's not on the list here this weekend at Brands. Maybe he'll be somewhere in the future. There's another regular there, number 48, is Richie Harrison, whose brother was successful in the maiden season of the Thundersport 500 back in 2009. Of course, Golden Era Superbikes, bikes from the Golden Era. I like a little programme piece that Dave Stewart has written here for ThundersportGB, when traction control was all in the wrist action. I won't add to that. There's John Dieterman then, the champion, number 1, up ahead of last year's runner-up, Richard Blunt. In 3rd place, number 71, Richie Thornton from Surbiton on that Kawasaki ZXR7. Richard Blunt, slightly more retro-looking leathers as well for this season on his Portico Sport Kawasaki. I like that. Very retro indeed, and still though chasing down this man here, John Dieterman, who excelled in the class last year. It was a shame really, it wasn't quite the battle we wanted down to the wire because there was bad luck for both riders involved. A few different faces in this one though, 79 and 91. 79 Rob Want, we've seen him in the class before, but different colour scheme. 91 Matt Streeter from Norwich. Matt Streeter there is one of the freshman riders. There's a GP1 freshman class within the GP1 class at Thundersport this year, but there's so many on the grid, we couldn't physically get them there. And at Thundersport, they don't send you home packing if you don't qualify. You will get a race somewhere. And so a number of GP1 freshman riders are out there with the Golden Era Superbikes here at the moment. They'll have a job catching the front Golden Era Superbike boys though. John Dieterman it is at the moment that leads and is flying out front. The lap record is actually Richard Blunt's, a 49.5. Track temperatures are not really allowing the same here today, but Richard Blunt himself is a good 1.6 seconds off his own lap record pace, so maybe not starting quite the same as he did last year. John Dieterman looking to pick up where he left off really and defend this crown successfully for 2016. There's number 34, Adrian Teasdale, out there on the vanglass.co.uk Suzuki. Very nice looking bike indeed. And this is the battle for second. The Portico Sport Kawasaki there, 13 of Richard Blunt, just up ahead of Richie Thornton. Another rider who's been in the class in and out for the last few years. Richard Stedman is out there as well on another Yamaha, number 35. Keep your eye out for him. Just saw Continental rider Ryan Strafford, number 57 from Murfield. Of course, former Street Fighter champion. First season in Golden Era Superbikes last year on the Honda. Just plagued with bad luck and a few crashes here and there, and I'm sure he's hoping to put that right here this season. backed by Continental all year, and a tyre manufacturer who are looking to help out as many people. Look at that, look. There's an interesting pit board for you. Richie, +5, stay cool. Nice one. I'm sure that's what he's thinking in his head. Stay cool indeed. Oh dear, oh dear. There's number 89 and 19. 89 is Giles Long. 19, Paul Stonebanks. A couple of new names for you here in the Golden Era Superbikes, but it's a familiar one that leads with the number 1 plate as well. John Dieterman, rider from Preston, the Baxi Yamaha. Travels along with his father to all of the rounds and various family members. Very much a privately run team. There is Richard Steadman on that Yamaha, and he's making pretty good ground up at the moment. Richard Steadman, his lap times are quicker than Richard Blunt's and a few others around him. Dave Sellers is also going well, by the way, 169 on the Kawasaki in the DSR Racing backed machine. Richie Harrison's up inside the top 8. Nick Williamson, as I mentioned before. Further back leading the GP1 freshman's Andrew Pollard at the moment on the G8 Racing BMW. So keep an eye on him. You might see him at some point shortly as they head into Druids once more. There is 169 Dave Sellers, as I mentioned earlier on. Dymag wheels, who are sponsoring this class for 2015, will be available from Sparklight Racing at big discounts, so I'm told, from Donington Park onwards. The next round of ThundersportGB, that's actually taking place on Easter weekend, or Saturday testing, Sunday, Monday race days. Dymags for GP1, 600s, Golden Era Superbikes, Super Twins. So any of you interested, go and see Gary at Sparklight Racing, and he'll certainly try and help you out there. But Dymag wheels, nice to have them on board sponsoring this class. John Dieterman looking focused though. The defending champion doesn't need to get hot bothered at the moment because he is just clearing off. Just over 6 seconds his advantage now from these guys. Richard Blunt in second place, and then Richie Thornton. Richard Blunt's going to have to be careful here. He doesn't fall into the trapdoor because the guys behind have been going quicker. Steadman in particular has been making ground up and is lapping a good half a second quicker than Blunt. And it looks like number 71 there, Richie Thornton, knows about it. He was asked to stay cool a minute ago. He might not have to stay cool for much longer. There he goes, up the inside into second place, and Richard Blunt has gone down into third place. And in a moment or two, I fear he might drop off the podium altogether as they head up towards Druids. I don't know if they've got a pit board on Richard or not, but Steadman is looking a threat there in second place. Richie Thornton it is then, number 71, that moves into second place overall. None of them have got a cat and hell's chance of catching John Dieterman out front, but these podium positions are going to be precious here. Got a yellow flag waving there as they enter and approach 30, so no overtaking there. Not sure what's happened. Maybe someone gone down there and going into Surtees corner, but here's Nick Williamson, Richie Harrison. Looks like it might be Matt Streeter that has gone down. It is Matt Streeter that's gone down, so hopefully he's okay. John Dieterman it is, though, that leads as he goes through a bit more traffic. There is 169, Dave Sellers up ahead of Nick Williamson and Richie Harrison. They're all inside the top 8 overall. Baxi Heating Yamaha looking in fine fettle once more. Was one of the bikes on show at the NEC in Birmingham for ThundersportGB in the winter. And a huge thanks to a few days that I spent there for giving me the most awful cold that I've had in a long time as well. The NEC, packed full of germs. There is a change here now. Richard Steadman is going to go around to the outside here of Richard Blunt. That's the long way round, but that's a lovely move by the Yamaha rider. And we are coming to the closing stages of this race. Richard Steadman looks like he might just snatch the podium place away from Richard Blunt now. Dieterman here then, the race leader who runs Dymags himself, now starts his last lap. This is the battle for third you're looking at. Richard Blunt was in second for probably 85–90% of this race and has now dropped back a bit. This is Nick Williamson. He's coming under some late pressure now from Richie Harrison, but Dieterman's home and dry. He could, in fact, roll off here and probably still make it over the line as the race winner. The defending champion is back to his old tricks. Brilliantly done here from the Preston rider. He wins race 1 here in the Golden Era Superbikes. A little wave of a cap there just on the side of pit lane, indeed. There in second place is going to be Richie Thornton, and Steadman will take third. Richard Blunt, a little disappointing there, and I'm sure he won't be too happy with fourth place. And then further back, Sellers in fifth, Harrison in sixth. Harrison did get Nick Williamson then on the line. I can tell you that Andrew Pollard finished in 8th place overall and was the first of the GP1 freshmen. Confirmation then on your screen there. Pretty easy, wasn't it, for John Dieterman here in the Dymag Golden Era Superbikes race 1 on TV for 2016. And there's your top 3. John Dieterman, centre of your picture. On the left, Richie Thornton. On the right, Richard Steadman. And then the freshmen's Andrew Pollard, the winner from Batner and Hollingworth.
John, last year's champion, tricky day yesterday, but you're back on it again.
Yeah, it was a tricky day yesterday. We had to pull out of one race because of the Nixon fault. The next race, it was wet and it wasn't very nice at all, but we got the bike sorted and it was a good race then. I really enjoyed that race.
You're back on a mission then to take the championship again.
I really wanted to come up with 2 wins today this Sunday, so the next race, we'll see how it goes, but I'm feeling confident.
Who would you like to thank, John?
I'd like to thank Back Seating, Dunlop Tyres, Michael Holbeach, Dymag Wheels as well. Everyone's been on board this year, it's been fantastic.
Andrew, new class we've got this year for GP1, freshman class, for guys that have just started, and you've gone out and won it. First TV day, can't be bad.
Yeah, first TV day. Yesterday was really difficult, really slippery. Came off in race 1, missed race 2, but today had difficulty getting off the grid. It keeps jumping out of gear, but yeah, we got there in the end.
That sounds pretty good to me. I mean, that's not, you know, you could have worse weekends. Have you got somebody to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Ian Rhodes from Roads and Track in Northampton, who does all the bikes set up for me, and the pit crew in the form of Philippa, who seems to have abandoned me now.
We'll be back after the break. The Dymag Golden Era Superbikes Race 2 here, round 1 of the 2016 ThundersportGB Championships. Thanks, as ever, to Sarah and Kirsty, the twins there on the front. Been a long day for them girls. We'll see you back at Donington Park. Golden Era Superbikes then. This is number 7, and that is a Yamaha 250 now. The old 250 GP bikes are eligible for this class for this season. That is absolutely stunning, that GP 250 bike. Bring them back. Bring them back. Anyway, away we go, down into turn 1. Earlier on, John Dieterman, number 1, the champion from last year, got the win, took it with ease really, and he's got the whole shot here down into turn 1. In race 1, it was 71, Richard Thornton that was second, someone going well wide in the background there. Get a glimpse of who that is in just a moment. It was number 28, and that is Jordan Watling. Jordan, it was not the way to go down Paddock Hill Bend, but he's recovered well. So yeah, it was Dieterman that took the win earlier from Thornton and Steadman. Richard Blunt, last year's runner-up, was in second for a long time, but then fell back and lost out on the podium overall. What can he do here? Number 13, Richard Blunt, is out there on that Kawasaki, but it's the Yamaha, the Baxi Yamaha, that leads. Oh, lovely to hear that 2-stroke flying around clear ways here at Brands Hatch Indy. Down the start-finish straight we go. Dieterman it is that leads from Richie Thornton. The top 2 in the first race are the top 2 on circuit at the moment. And now we dip into Paddock Hill Bend. In third place, is that Nick Williamson, I believe, that is in third overall? It was, and it is. And then it's Richard Blunt. Further back there, we see number 20, Andy Challis from Peterborough on the CT Racing Suzuki. So let's see what these guys can do with John Dieterman in race 2. Nobody could catch him, it looked like, in the first race. And at the moment, we'll wait and see. Richard Blunt was certainly disappointed with his performance in the first race, and now trying to close up and find a way past Nick Williamson. He certainly won't want to see that going on. And Richard Steadman there, going around the outside, trying to find a way around that wonderful 250 GP. That's Bruce Dunn's on that, by the way, from Warrington, on that Yamaha. just fantastic to see it out on circuit. Brilliant sounding bike as well. Number 1, John Dieterman it is that leads from Richie Thornton. Then we have Nick Williamson. We've got Richard Blunt up there as well, and Richard Stedman trying to make up ground like we saw earlier on. Once Richard Stedman got up towards the top 3 or 4, he really did chase down the pack, so you've got to wonder whether or not... In fact, Stedman's just suddenly disappeared. Where has Stedman gone? Are my eyes deceiving me, or has Richard Stedman just completely disappeared from the front of this race? Yeah, he's gone. Richard Stedman, having made so much ground up, has just disappeared out of this race, so that means that... And there he is. Oh, and that doesn't look so good. Richard Stedman is down and out of this race. That's on the exit, I believe, of Graham Hill Bend, and the red flags are out. Red flags are out, so we will get a complete restart then. So, a new race, effectively. It's been shortened distance. We send our best regards to Richard Stedman. We hope that you're all right, mate, because that didn't look particularly pleasant. And so we go all over again. The GP250 doesn't seem to have made it for the restart either, but away we go from the line. And John Dieterman's got to do it all over again, but it's Nick Williamson with the inside line this time, and that's not worked out well for John Dieterman. And so it is Nick Williamson that has the advantage heading into Druid's corner. Thornton's up there as well. And Richard Blunt has got through ahead of John Dieterman's fallen back to 4th. So having started so well earlier on, Dieterman's got it all to do here. There's Ryan Strafford on the Continental Honda. I think once he gets that set up, you'll see Ryan Strafford battling for podiums once more, but at the moment it just doesn't seem to all be going his way. There is Richard Blunt then, a much better start for the former champion of this class and last year's runner-up. There is number 91, just going on the outside, Matt Streeter. Number 83, Ben Hollingworth. But it's Nick Williamson from Southampton that has the advantage early on the RBM Motorsport Suzuki. He seems to change what bikes he's on a weekly basis. I've seen him out there on Yamahas, Hondas, all sorts, but that definitely looks like a Suzuki to me. As we make our way around Druids, and now Richard Blunt is going to take the inside line into Graham Hill Bend, and does. Richard Blunt leads the race then. The Portico Sport Kawasaki rider, last year's runner-up, the former champion from a few years back as well. And John Dieterman now closes up, having made a bit of a bad start of the restart. The defending champion's in 4th, behind Richie Thornton. Now this looks like it might be a bit more of a tasty race for us here. Earlier on we saw John Dieterman clear off and win the race by 7 or 8 seconds. Doesn't look like that's going to happen here. And John Dieterman maybe just looking a bit uncomfortable in the early stages of this one, although he's now made it up into 3rd place. Back in 5th, looks like it might be Richie Harrison. Get a better look at that as they head up towards Druids. It is Richard Harrison, number 48 in 5th, but Blunt leads from Thornton now. Williamson pumped back to 3rd place. John Dieterman, having gone up to 3rd, has been pushed back down to 4th again. Richard Blunt will be liking this, a bit of clear air out front. We'll repeat again, those leathers, proper retro, looking good with the Portico Sport Kawasaki. So it's Kawasaki's 1 and 2, Suzuki 3rd, and then in 4th place, the Baxi Yamaha of the champion, John Dieterman. Bit of a gap back then to Richard Harrison, who's desperately trying to get on the tails of this lot. Adrian Teasdale is up in the top 7 or 8. Andrew Pollard is there as well. And so, into turn 1 we go. And Dieterman's up to 3rd. He's moved back Nick Williamson, who's actually now dropped another place. Richie Thornton's in 2nd. Richie Thornton's got that tight line on the inside on that yellow Kawasaki, looking to find a way through. So Richard Blunt it is that still leads, but not by a lot. Thornton's there in 2nd. John Dieterman looks set to pounce on Thornton. He's in 3rd. Nick Williamson in 4th. Can Nick Williamson hold on to these guys? That's the question. Last year he spent the odd time on the podium, but in large was not able to really stay with John Dieterman and Richard Blunt. These two who were going at it properly in 2015 now get the chance to meet and greet once more on the start-finish straight here at Brands Hatch. Across the line we go, and up pulls the Baxi Yamaha, and that's a sight that Richard Blunt has seen only well, too many times last year for his own good. He won't like that one bit, but now he's in a proper race. He won't want to see Dieterman win this one. Richie Thornton is a definite threat there in third place, and Nick Williamson is doing just enough at the moment to hang on to the group. Then still a bit of a gap back to Richie Harrison. There's Chalice going through Druids, and Jordan Watling as well. Doncaster rider on the Electech Racing Kawasaki. Out of Graham Hill we go, and Dieterman leads once more. Can he check out like he did in race 1? I don't think Richard Blunt will be too pleased about that. I think he's got other ideas. They go into clearways. Blunt with the lap record, of course, set last year of 49.5. They're currently about just over a second off that. So temperatures perhaps coming into play. There is number 91, Matt Streeter, fighting with Chalice again. Those guys in 9th and 10th. They're behind Watling, Pollard and Harrison. As they go into turn 1, it's Dieterman, though, from Blunt. First and second around Druids Corner. Third place for Richie Thornton. Nick Williamson's last lap was just a couple of tenths slower than the group out front. Signs that maybe he's not going to be able to keep up with the pace here. Dieterman wants to stretch away, but Richard Blunt does not want to let him go. It's easier to follow than it is to lead, and Richard Blunt maybe just not quite found the pace that we're used to seeing him at yet, but this will be a little bit easier for him, trying to stay with John Dieterman out front. And now we've got two groups of two forming as both Dieterman and Blunt look to check out. Ryan Strafford here has got company in the shape of John Gibson, although Strafford himself will not want to be fighting for 12th and 13th places throughout the 2016 season. Up towards Druids we go again then. Some tail enders to deal with in a moment. Dieterman leads from Blunt, then Thornton, then Williamson. Good effort this from Nick Williamson from Southampton. He's won races in this championship before. Finished as runner-up in, I think, the very first season of Golden Era Superbikes, behind Lee Reevely, I believe, unless my maths and head's completely gone. There's number 19, Paul Stonebanks, out there on an old Yamaha, and he's just been lapped by the race leader, John Dieterman. Richard Blunt following his every move at the moment. Further back there is 34 and 38. 34, Adrian Teasdale. 38 is Andrew Pollard, who's actually at the moment the fastest of the GP1 overrun freshmen. So he's going okay. Okay, last lap then. John Dieterman, number 1, and Richard Blunt, 13. Will this be the tale of these two once more in 2016, or will Richie Thornton have something to say about it? This really does mean business. Richard Blunt really could do with just getting his nose ahead of John Dieterman here to prevent Dieterman from starting the year off where he left off from last season, and now he's got a couple of chances left. They go around clearways now, and there's a bit of a door being left open, is there? No, there's nothing being left door open at all, and he's going to have to go in the slipstream or something along those lines as they make their way up towards the start-finish line. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. Across the line they go, and it is John Dieterman that just takes it from Richard Blunt. Blunt will be disappointed that he hasn't been able to get on terms with Dieterman there. He was closer, but he's going to have to find a bit more in the coming rounds. John Dieterman, the champion, kicks off the first two races here on TV Day at Brands Hatch with a double win. The backseat Yamaha rider, he was made to work for it though. Blunt finishing in second, last year's runner-up. Richie Thornton third, Nick Williamson fourth, Adrian Teasdale fifth, and Andrew Pollard in sixth place. There's a top three on the podium then: John Dieterman, Richard Blunt and Richie Thornton. And then we have the freshman Andrew Pollard ahead of Matt Streeter and Ben Hollingworth. Now then, Golden Era Superbike points, locked on points at the top there. Nick Williamson and John Dieterman. Richie Thornton is in third, Richard Blunt fourth, but there is only 14 points covering the top four, so we shouldn't really have to worry about that too much at the moment. Ben Hollingworth leads the GP1 freshman, brought to you by Munnix Europe, ahead of Andrew Batner, Pollard and Matt Streeter. That's it from Brands Hatch. Thanks ever so much for joining us. Round 1 is done. Round 2 is just around the corner. We'll see you at Donington Park.